a certain number of words, it is limited. Therefore, though Allah says the Quran is the speech of Allah, it cannot be the speech of Allah because the speech of Allah is a part of Allah, therefore it should be unlimited. The Quran therefore is creation. They used logic. And they started to say the Quran is created, and they were demanding everyone should believe that the Quran is created. And they persecuted people. They persecuted the scholars. To the point the scholars then said, we were in silence, except for 4 scholars. One of them was Imam Ahmad. And from the 4, only 2 were left. Imam Ahmad and another scholar, and the other scholar, he passed away. Only Imam Ahmad was left. He refused to accept. And when he was challenged, he said, what do you say about the Quran? His reply was, I say what Allah says about the Quran. And what is that? Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do not add anything to it, and I do not take anything out of it. Quran is the word of Allah. Because the only thing he had was the knock on the door. I know there's a knock on the door. I know Allah says the Quran is the word of Allah. I cannot add more than that. Is it a creation? I say what Allah says. And he left it like that. And that was the correct approach to have. Because the logic, if it becomes the basis of thinking, it would lead to judgments which can be far away from the truth. And it could end up leading towards shirk. And Allah, He will never forgive people who commit shirk. So logic is not our basis. And this was the error of the Mu'tazila. I want to quickly run through the other aspects. What was the error? So people say, science can answer everything. Science can really explain many, many things for us. And what's the purpose of science? Science, what it does, it observes phenomenon in the world and tries to take benefit from it. So I'll give you 2 examples here. Apple falling down is the effect. What was the cause? It was that child sitting in the tree who threw it down. No, gravity, yes. Yeah. So the effect was apple falling down. The cause was gravity. What was the benefit? You have the benefit there. From understanding the principles of gravity, man has been able to produce aeroplanes, produce lifts in a building, and all these other developments as a result of understanding what gravity is. Other example, effect is partial paralysis. What was the cause? Toxin from bacteria in protein. What's the benefit? Botox. Yeah. People find benefit. You'd be surprised. Commercial industry, if they can make money out of bacteria, out of things which are actually inherently dangerous for you, they'll take their benefit. And from this, they've understood what to do in order to, paralyze some of your muscles so you can start having a much more younger face, so they believe. And that's what they were able to do. That's what science is all about. Understanding the reality. Looking at phenomenon. Looking at things which actually exist that you can touch, you can sense. And from that, trying to find some benefit from it. So the natural question becomes, why is science not able to answer the question about whether or not that there is a God? And effectively there's 2 reasons which I put down. Because firstly, the scientific method is limited because it does what? It does repeated observations. And when you do repeated observation, what are you observing? What's not how? What you're observing is what you see. That's what you're observing. How is that problematic when it comes to God? Huh?
It's not tangible.
Absolutely, it's not tangible because science is repeated observation is upon what is tangible, what is physical. How can you therefore take God and somehow test God? It makes no sense. That's a fundamental limitation of science. And that goes to the second point. God is not testable. You cannot put God inside a test tube. Put him on a Bunsen burner and say, let me see if it's really there. You can't. That's the limitation of science. Science is not able to answer that there is a God or that there is no God. Science cannot answer that question whatsoever. And therefore people automatically assume, therefore Islam is against science. And we'll come to that point, which is completely wrong. What we want to establish is that science cannot answer the question and cannot negate the question. So when they bring all these theories, when they bring all these philosophies like the Big Bang, we have proven that there has been a Big Bang. And the natural question that we then ask is what? Where did the Big Bang come from? And what's the answer? A super Big Bang. And where did the super Big Bang come from? An ultra Big Bang. And where did the ultra Big Bang come from? You know, DAS automatic ultra Big Bang. The thing is they're struggling. Quarks. Where did quarks come from? Super quarks. And where did super quarks come from? There must have been. And you find they're struggling because science cannot answer this question. Okay. Logic and science are very two important strands of thinking which we need to use, which we need to employ, but we cannot use it to prove or disprove belief because it doesn't answer these questions whatsoever. That's the limitation of logic and science. Now what I want to do quickly is look at these four things, the arguments that people tend to bring. Infinity, we're not talking about Toy Story, quantum mechanics, natural selection, evolution. Just look at these arguments very quickly. What do people argue about infinity? What do they say? Well, the universe has always been there. It's been going on for infinity. Infinity and? You've been watching out, yeah? Infinity and beyond. The universe has always been there. Therefore, there was never a God. How do you counter that one? Right. We're in Tesco's. We've done our shopping. We're waiting in the checkout. There are 3 people in front of us. How many people do we need to wait for before our turn comes? 3. If there was 10 people in front of us, how many people need to be processed before our turn comes? If there was an infinite amount of people, how long would I have to wait? It will never happen. It will never happen because it's infinite. Therefore, the event can never happen. The reality is, events are happening all the time. We're here, this is an event. This event could never happen because we would be waiting for infinity. But event has happened. So this argument is a flawed argument. It's a bit like I gave the example to some friends of mine, Pakistanis, mashallah, who love their cricket. I said, if you're batsman number 8, and there was an infinite number of batsmen in front of you, what would happen? Oh, we would never get a chance to bat. It would never happen. The universe could never happen because you're waiting for infinity. No event could happen. You'd be waiting for infinity, it could never happen, subhanAllah. But throughout our life, many things have happened. Events have happened all the time. Because infinity is a concept which must be applied. And we know the reality of infinity is just a mathematical formula. It's something it's just this. And it will never touch. It's just a theory, a formula, it's nothing more. It actually doesn't answer the question whatsoever. And that's the flaw of infinity. It's really as simple as that. There's nothing more complicated. Okay. Take the issue of the next one, quantum mechanics. That's a very sophisticated argument. They simply say something can happen from nothing. And quantum mechanics is a very strong theory. Something can happen from nothing. You know, I also do dua. You know, suddenly, a tree will pop up which has money on it from nowhere. Alhamdulillah, be very, very good. It doesn't happen. Their argument is something can arise from absolutely nothing. We know that contradicts reality. It doesn't happen in reality. That's the first point. Secondly, it requires a process. It requires a process to be engineered for this to occur. So we would ask the question, which is what? Sorry? Yeah, who engineered that process? That process is a process, but somebody has to engineer it. Who engineered that process for it to occur? We call it God. They call it Mother Nature. Super Ted, the cartoon used to watch. These are the things. This is how people bring these arguments. Quantum mechanics is built upon time and space. God exists beyond time and space. Otherwise God will be limited. So quantum mechanics doesn't answer this question. The third one, there is no God because of evolution. People have said, we have proven evolution.